Ernst Mayr, 1904 to 2004, born on 5 July 1904 in Kempten, Germany. Ernst Mayr, the Harvard University evolutionary biologist who has been called the Darwin of 20th century, was one of the 100 greatest scientists of all time. Mayer joined Harvard's Faculty of Arts and Science in 1953 and retired in 1975, assuming the title Alexander Agassiz Professor of Zoology Emeritus throughout his nearly 80 years career. His research spanned ornithology, taxonomy, zoogeography, evolution, systematics, and the history and the philosophy of biology. He almost single handedly made the evolution of species diversity the central question of evolutionary biology that it is today. He also pioneered the currently accepted definition of the biological species. Mayer was awarded the three prize widely regarded as a triple crown of biology: the Balzan Prize in 1983, the International Prize for Biology in 1994, and the Crafoord Prize in 1999. Mayer died at the age of 100 in the year 2004. Chapter 1: The Living World. How wonderful is the living world! The wide range of living types is amazing. The extraordinary habitats in which we find living organisms, be it cold mountains, deciduous forests, oceans, freshwater lakes, deserts, or hot springs, leave us speechless. The beauty of galloping horse, of migrating birds, the valley of flowers, or the attacking shark evokes a sense of wonder. The ecological conflict and cooperation among members of a population and among populations of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside a cell, make us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. This question has two implicit questions within it. The first is a technical one and seek answer to what living is as opposed to the non-living. And the second is a philosophical one and seek answer to the question, what is the purpose of life? As scientists, we shall not attempt answering the second question. We will try to reflect on what is living. 1.1: What is living? When we try to define living, we conventionally look for distinctive characteristics exhibited by living organisms. Growth, reproduction, ability to sense environment and mount a suitable response come to our mind immediately as unique feature of living organism. One can add a few more features like metabolism, ability to self-replicate, self-organize, interact and emergence to this list. Let us try to understand each of these. All living organisms grow. Increase in mass and increase in number of individuals are the twin characteristic of growth. A multicellular organism grow by cell division. In plants, this growth by cell division occurs continuously throughout their lifespan. In animals, this growth is seen only up to a certain age. However, cell division occurs in certain tissues to replace lost cells. Unicellular organisms grow by cell division. One can easily observe this in vitro culture by simply counting the number of cells under the microscope. The majority of higher animals and plants growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. One must remember that increase in body mass is considered as growth. Non-living objects also grow if we take increase in body mass as a criterion for growth. Mountains, boulders, and sand molds do grow. However, this kind of growth exhibited by non-living object is by accumulation of material on the surface. In living organism, growth is from inside. Growth therefore cannot be taken as a defining property of living organism. Conditions under which it can be observed in all living organisms have to be explained, and then we can understand that it is a characteristic of a living system. A dead organism do not grow. Reproduction, likewise, is a characteristic of living organism. In multicellular organism, reproduction refers to the production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parents. invariably and implicitly we refers to sexual reproduction. Organisms reproduce by asexual means also. Fungi multiply and spread easily due to millions of asexual spores they produce. In lower organisms like yeast and hydra, we observe budding. In planaria, flatworms, we observe true regeneration. That is, a fragmented organism regenerates the lost part of its body and become a new organism. The fungi, the filamentous algae, the protonema of mosses all easily multiply by fragmentation. When it comes to unicellular organisms like bacteria, unicellular algae or amoeba, reproduction is synonymous with growth, that is, increase in number of cells. We have already defined growth as equivalent to increase in cell number or mass. Hence, we notice that in a single cell organism, we are not very clear about the usage of these two terms, growth and reproduction. Further, there are many organisms which do not reproduce. Mule, sterile worker bees, infertile human couples, etc. Hence, reproduction also cannot be an all-inclusive defining characteristic of living organism. Of course, no non-living object is capable of reproducing or replicating by itself. Another characteristic of life is metabolism. All living organisms are made up of chemicals. These chemicals, small or big, belong to the various classes, size, functions, etc., are continuously being made and changed into some other biomolecules. These conversions are chemical reactions or metabolic reactions. There are thousands of metabolic reactions occurring simultaneously inside all living organisms, be they unicellular or multicellular. All plants, animals, fungi, and microbes exhibit metabolism. The sum total of all the chemical reactions occurring in our body is metabolism. No non-living object exhibit metabolism. Metabolic reactions can be demonstrated outside the body in a cell-free system. An isolated metabolic reaction outside the body of an organism performed in a test tube is neither living nor non-living. Hence, while metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception, isolated metabolic reaction in vitro are not living thing but surely a living reaction. Hence, cellular organization of the body is a defining feature of a life form. Perhaps the most obvious and technical complicated feature of all the living organism is this ability to sense their surrounding or environment and respond to these environmental stimuli, which could be physical, chemical, or biological. We sense our environment through our sense organs. Plants respond to external factors like light, water, temperature, other organism, pollutant, etc. All organisms from prokaryotes to the most complex eukaryote can sense and respond to the environmental cues. Photoperiod affect reproduction in seasonal breeders, both plants and animals. All organisms handle chemical entering their body. All organisms therefore are aware of their surroundings. Human being is the only organism who is aware of himself, that is, has self-consciousness. Consciousness therefore becomes the defining property of living organism. When it comes to human being, it is all the more difficult to define the living state. We observe patient laying in coma in hospitals virtually supported by machines which replace heart and lungs. The patient is otherwise brain dead. The patient has no self consciousness. Are such patients who never come back to normal life living or non living? In higher classes, you will come to know that all living phenomena are due to the underlying interactions. Property of tissue are not present in the constituent cells but arise as a result of interaction among the constituent cells. Similarly, properties of cellular organelles are not present in a molecular constituent of a cell but arise as a result of interaction among the molecular component comprising the organelle. These interactions result in emergent property at a higher level of organization. This phenomena is true in the hierarchy of organizational complexity at all levels. Therefore, we can say that living organisms are self-replicating, evolving, and self-regulating interactive systems capable of responding to external stimuli. Biology is the story of life on Earth. Biology is the story of evolution of living organism on Earth. All living organisms, present, past, and future, are linked to one another by sharing the common genetic material but to varying degrees. 1.2 Diversity in a living world. If you look around, you will see a large variety of living organisms, be it potted plant, insects, birds, your pet, or other animals and plants. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eyes, but they are all around you. If you were to increase the area that you make observations in, the range and variety of organisms that you would see increase. Obviously, if you were to visit a dense forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kind of living organisms in it. Each different kind of plant, animal, and organism that you see represents a species. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. This refers to biodiversity, or the number and type of organism present on earth. We should remember here that as we explore new areas and even old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. As stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know the plants and animals in our own area by their local names. These local names would vary from place to place, even within a country. Probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find ways and means to talk to each other to refer to the organism we are talking about. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature and naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is called identification. In order to facilitate the study, the number of scientists have established the procedure to assign the scientific name to each known organism. This is this is acceptable to biologists all over the world. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature (ICBN). You may ask, how are animals named? Animal taxonomists have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature (ICZN). The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other organism. Biologists follow universally accepted principle to provide the scientific names to known organisms. Each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. This system of providing a name with a two component is called binomial nomenclature. This naming system, given by Carlos Linnaeus, is being practiced by biologists all over the world. This naming system use a two-word format was found convenient. Let us take the example of mango to understand the way of providing scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Let us see how it is a binomial name. In this name, Mangifera represent the genus while indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Other universal rule of nomenclature are as follows. 1. Biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. The first word in biological name represents the genus while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Both the words in the biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. Fourth, the first word denoting the genus start with a capital letter while the specific epithet start with a small letter. It can be illustrated with the example of Mangifera indica. Name of the author appear after the specific epithet, that is, at the end of the biological name, and is written in an abbreviated form. Example, Mangifera indica Linn. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. Since it is nearly impossible to study all living organisms, it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. This process is called classification. Classification is a process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants or animals or dogs, cats or insects. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters with the organism in that group. What image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of us will see dogs and not cats. Now, if we were to think of Alsatians, we know what we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals. You would, of course, think of animals with external ear and body hairs. Likewise, in plants, if we try to talk of wheat, the picture in each of our mind will be of wheat plant, not of rice or any other plant. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc. are convenient categories we use to study organisms. The scientific terms for these category is taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at very different levels. Plants also forms a taxa, wheat is also a taxa, similarly animals, mammals, dogs all are taxa, but you know that dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Therefore animals, mammals and dogs represent taxa at different levels. Hence, based on characteristic, all living organism can be classified into different taxa. This process of classification is taxonomy. External and internal structure, along with the structure of cell, development processes and ecological information of the organism are essential and forms the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Hence, characterization, identification, classification and nomenclature are the processes that are the basic to taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings need to find sources for their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. Hence, the earliest classification were based on the uses of various organisms. Human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversity, but also the relationship among them. This branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematics is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organism. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationship between the organisms. 1.3 Taxonomic Categories. Classification is not a single step process but involves hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Since the category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called taxonomic category and all categories together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category, referred to as a unit of classification, in fact represents a rank and is commonly termed as taxon. Taxonomic categories and hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insects represent a group of organisms sharing common features like three pair of jointed legs. That it means insects are recognizable concrete object which can be classified and thus were given a rank or a category. Can you name other such group of organisms? Remember, group represent category. Category further denotes rank. Each rank or taxon in fact represent a unit of classification. These taxonomic groups categories are distinct biological entities and not merely morphological aggregates. Taxonomical studies of all known organisms have led to the development of common categories such as kingdom, phylum or division for plants, class, order, family, genus, species. All animals, including those in the plant and animal kingdom, have species as the lowest category. Now, the question you may ask is how to place an organism into various categories. The basic requirement is the knowledge of characters of an individual or the group of organisms. This help in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individuals of the same kind of organism as well as of the other kind of organism. 1.3.1 Species. Taxonomic studies consider a group of individual organisms with fundamental similarities as a species. One should be able to distinguish one species from the other closely related species based on the distinct morphological differences. Let us consider Magnifera indica, Solanum tuberosum potato, and Panthera leo lion. All the three names indica, tuberosum, and Leo represents the specific epithets, while the first word Mangifera, Solanum and Panthera are genera and represents another higher level of taxon or category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithet representing different organism but having morphological similarities. For example, Panthera has another specific epithets called Tigris, and Solanum includes species like Nigerum and Melongena. Human beings belong to the species Sapiens, which is grouped into the genus Homo. The scientific name thus for human being is written as Homo sapiens. 1.3.2 Genus. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison to species of other genera. We can say that genera are aggregates of closely related species. For example, potato and brinjal are the two different species but both belongs to the genus Solanum, lion Panthera leo, leopard Panthera pallidus, and tiger Panthera tigris, with several common features, and all species of the genus Panthera. This genus differ from another genus Felis, which include cats. 1.3.3 Family. The next category, family, has a group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of the plant species. Among plants, for example, three different genera, Solanum, Petunia, and Dhatura, are placed in a family Solanaceae. Among animals, for example, genus Panthera comprising lion, tiger, leopard is put along with genus Felis, cat, in the family Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the features of a cat and a dog, you will find some similarities as well and some differences as well. They are separated in two different families, Felidae and Canidae respectively. 1.3.4 Order. You have seen earlier that categories like species, genus, and families are based on the number of similar characters. Generally, order and other higher taxonomic categories are identified based on the aggregates of characters. Order, being a higher category, is the assemblage of families which exhibit a few similar characters. The similar characters are less in number as compared to different genera included in a family. Plant families like Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae are included in the order Polymoniales, mainly based on the floral characters. The animals the animal order Carnivora includes families like Felidae and Canidae. 1.3.5 Class. This category include related orders. For example, order Primata comprising monkey, gorilla and gibbon is placed in class Mammalia along with the order Carnivora that includes animals like tiger, cat and dog. Class Mammalia has other orders also. 1.3.6 Phylum. Classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals constitute the next higher category called phylum. All these based on the common features like presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural system are included in phylum Chordata. In case of plants, classes with a few similar characters are assigned to the higher category called division. 1.3.7 Kingdom. All kingdoms, all animals belonging to various phyla are assigned to the highest category called Kingdom Animalia in the classification system of animals. The kingdom Plantae, on the other hand, is a distinct and comprises all plants from various divisions. Henceforth, we will refer to these two groups as animals and plant kingdom. The taxonomic category from species to kingdom has been shown in ascending order starting with the species in figure 1.1. These are broad categories. However, taxonomists have also developed subcategories in this hierarchy to facilitate more sound and specific placement of various taxa. Look at the hierarchy in figure 1.1. Can you recall the basis of arrangement? Say, for example, as we go higher from species to kingdom, the number of common characteristics goes on decreasing. Lower the taxa, more the characters that the member within the taxon share. Higher the category, greater is the difficulty of determining the relationship to the other taxa at the same level. Hence, the problem of classification become more complex. Table 1.1 indicate the taxonomic category to which some common organisms like housefly, man, mango, wheat belong. Table 1.1 Organism with their taxonomic category. Common name man, biological name Homo sapien, genus Homo, family Hominidae, order Primata, class Mammalia, phylum or division Chordata. Common name housefly, biological name Musca domestica, genus Musca, family Muscidae, order Diptera, class Insecta, phylum or division Arthropoda. Common name mango, biological name Mangifera indica, genus Mangifera, family Anacardiaceae, order Sapindales, class Dicotyledone, phylum or division Angiospermi. Common name wheat, biological name Triticum acetivum, genus Triticum, family Poaceae, order Poales, class Monocotyledone, phylum or division Angiospermi. 1.4 Taxonomical aids. Taxonomic studies of various species of plants, animals, and other organisms are useful in agriculture, forestry, industry, and in general in knowing our bioresources and their diversity. These studies would require correct classification and identification of organisms. Identification of organisms require intensive laboratory and field studies. The collection of actual specimen of plant and animal species is essential and is the prime source of taxonomic studies. These are also fundamental to studies and essential for training in systematics. It is used for classification of an organism and the information gathered is also stored along with the specimens. In some cases, the specimens is preserved for future studies. Biologists have established certain procedure and techniques to store and preserve the information as well as the specimens. Some of these are explained to help you understand the usage of these aids. 1.4.1 Herbarium. Herbarium is a storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed, and preserved on sheets. Further, these sheets are arranged according to the universally accepted system of classification. These specimens, along with their description on herbarium sheet, become a storehouse or repository for future use. The herbarium sheets also carry a label providing information about date and place of collection, English, local and botanical names, family, collector's name, etc. Herbaria also serve as a quick reference system for taxonomic studies. 1.4.2 Botanical names. These specialized gardens have collection of living plants for reference. Species in these gardens are grown for identification purpose and each plant is labeled indicating its botanical scientific name and its family. The famous botanical garden are at Kew, England, Indian Botanical Garden, Howrah, India, and at National Botanical Research Institute, Lucknow, India. 1.4.3 Museum. Biological museums are generally set up in educational institutes such as schools and colleges. Museums have collection of preserved plants and animal specimens for study and reference. Specimens are preserved in the containers or jars in preservative solutions. Plants and animal specimens may also be preserved as dry specimens. Insects are preserved in insect boxes. Insects are preserved in insect boxes after collecting, killing, and pinning. Larger animals like birds and mammals are usually stuffed and preserved. Museums often have collection of skeletons of animals too. 1.4.4 Zoological Parks. These are the places where wild animals are kept in protected environments under human care and which enable us to learn about their food habits and behavior. All animals in a zoo are provided as far as possible the conditions similar to their natural habitats. Children love visiting these parks, commonly called zoos. 1.4.5 Key. Key is another taxonomical aid used for identification of plants and animals based on the similarities and dissimilarities. The keys are based on the contrasting characters, generally in a pair called couplet. It represents the choices made between two opposite options. This results in acceptance of only one and rejection of the other. Each statement in a key is called a lead. Separate taxonomical keys are required for each taxonomic category, such as family, genus, and species for identification purpose. Keys are generally analytical in nature. Flora, manuals, monographs, and catalogs are some other means of recording descriptions. These also help in correct identification. Flora contain the actual account of habitat and distribution of plants of a given area. These provide the index to the plant species found in a particular area. Manuals are useful in providing information for the identification of the name of a species found in an area. Monographs contain information on any one taxon.